This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, hello everybody, and welcome back to CWK Live every Monday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm your host, Dan Z, thrilled to be talking Star Wars with each and every one of you. Let's say hello to our friends joining us tonight on CWK Live. First, let's bring in Mason Z. Hello, Mason. Amber is here with her son, River, almost 7 years old, is with you tonight. Well, Amber, that is great. My son is 8. And Jason's son, Henrik, and Jason are here as well. Jason, I believe you said your son was 8. Also, am I correct in remembering that? And welcome back to the show. Joe is here. Hello, everyone. Glad to be back for my second CWK Live. Well, it's great to have you back on the show. Joe, Blake is here, of course. What is up, everyone? Good to see you, Blake. As always, in Minta, this is the way it's CWK Day. All right. Well, good to have all of you here. Back on the show tonight, we are going to talk about, boy, this new mouse, you can really hear it clicking, can't you? That's all right. Tonight's show is going to be all about Spark of Rebellion Part 2, the second part of the Star Wars Rebels season, or series premiere, actually. Oh, he says Henrik is 9. Well, very good. So we've got 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 9-year-old, which is pretty cool. Tonight, we're going to talk about Top 5 moments from Star Wars Rebels Spark of Rebellion Part 2. We're going to do some Star Wars trivia, which is going to be very Star Wars Rebels focused. And, of course, your comments and questions. Happy Monday to you, Brian. Thanks for joining us on CWK Live. As always, let's go ahead and take a look at what is brewing in the world of Star Wars this week. All right, so what's brewing in Star Wars this week is, do we have Celebration news? I think we do. We have a lot of things that have been going on as far as what you can register for. You could already register for fan tables. You could register to do a panel. You could register for the podcast stage. And now you can register to be a member of the media. So if you have a podcast or you have a blog and you want to go ahead and give it a shot, you are able to go on to onto the Star Wars Celebration website, and you are able to register to get a media badge. So it's, it's a complicated, well, it's not really a complicated process, but it's an interesting process. So if you are someone who's thinking about that, may the force be with you, my friends. I will certainly be applying for that as well. Another thing, and let me go ahead and jump here on this for you. Here, let's see. Got some interesting stuff here. Well, some of this is not new, though. I'll show you. Another thing we've got is if you're going to... By the way, who is going to Star Wars Celebration? Who here on CWK Live is going to be at Star Wars Celebration? Anthony is here. He says, happy CWK Live. Looking forward to hearing everyone's top 5. Might as well give the podcast stage a try. Anthony, you should apply for it, dude. Josh says it must be solely Star Wars focused for podcast applications. That is true for the Star Wars podcast stage. They have to be Star Wars podcast focused. And Josh, welcome back to the show. Oh my, sounds like something dropped upstairs. So this is what I was going to show you. Yeah, I showed you this last week. The Gab Watch, Star Wars Mandalorian Gab Watch. But what I wanted to show you, let me pull this in here. Tonight, or not tonight, but in the Friday, the first Thursday of Star Wars Celebration, I need to get a clearer graphic for that. We're going to have a podcast meetup. It is going to be at the Hilton, right across from the convention center itself. It's going to be Coffee with Kenobi is going to be there. A number of Star Wars podcasts that you know. Some up-and-coming shows. It's going to be a nice blend so you can meet veteran Star Wars podcasts and podcasters and new Star Wars podcasts. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to update that graphic to give it the awesomeness that it is definitely worth, because we last year, or not last year, but in 2019, we did it for Star Wars Celebration Chicago. It was a blast. I met so many people. So many Star Wars podcasts I look up to and admire were there. It was just great. We just had so much fun. It was hours and hours of a good time. So Josh is going to be staying there and going. Good, Josh. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting you face to face, man. That is going to be fun. That is going to be fun. So speaking of fun, let's go ahead and jump into our top 5 for tonight. Top 5 moments from Star Wars Rebels Spark of Rebellion Part 2. Yes. And before we get into it, I know Mason had a fun announcement. He finally finished all of the Harry Potter books. So and we watched all the movies as well. So Mason is all caught up in the world of Harry Potter. As far as the 7 books go, we're looking at the Cursed Child now, but he's pretty excited. Aren't you, Mace? Very good. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into Spark of Rebellion Part 2. So the last thing that we saw was, well, the crew was in a bind. It looked like everybody that was trying to break into the into the Imperial Star Destroyer and rescue the Wookiees. It appeared that it was a trap, so that was bad news. So they had to try to get out. A lot of things happened in this second part of the episode. Ben says, congratulations, Mason. Yes, indeed. Well, thank you, Ben. I will be sure to pass it along to him. But he is very excited. He loves Harry Potter. In fact, I think he'd be excited if we're going to do some trivia of the Harry Potter persuasion. But we're not going to do Harry Potter trivia tonight. We're doing Star Wars Rebels trivia. But let's talk about our top 5, shall we? So my number 5 for this episode is strategy. So what am I talking about with strategy? Well, so this is the first time they all work together as far as the entire crew themselves, including Ezra. And there's a lot of things that happen that are very coordinated. For example, Sabine turning off the artificial gravity, causing a lot of problems for the Imperials to pursue the rebels that have invaded their Star Destroyer. And I just really like that because it's a nice sign and a nice preview of where this team is going to go as the series progresses. They're going to be smart. They're going to outthink the Imperials. They're going to be very, very brave and brazen and reckless, honestly. But it's like controlled recklessness, if that's even a thing. So I really like the strategy that we got in this episode, and that is my number 5. All right, for Minta, she says, Agent Cal, you can tell right off the bat he was not to be underestimated. He even kicked a stormtrooper in the face after he asked him if he ever encountered a Jedi before. Yeah, that part always disturbed me. That is really pretty wild, pretty intense. But yeah, it's definitely something that stands out. Amber's number 5. The overall visuals of that opening with the Star Destroyer are just beautiful. Yes, it really was a gorgeous one. Henrik's number 5. Ezra removing the Wookiees' binders on Kessel and setting them free. I like that too. Jason, the Wilhelm scream from the stormtrooper falling over the rail on Kessel, that sound effect never gets old. No, it doesn't. It's fun. I kind of got a kick out of it this time for some reason. Number 5 for Blake, Zeb and Ezra's relationship this early on. Not a lot of trust there yet, and it's hilarious at times to watch. It's hilarious. It's also kind of painful too, isn't it? Really kind of painful. Let's see. But yeah, you do get a kick out of them because you can see there's already like admiration and affection for each other. Ben's number 5, use of physical comedy. When Zeb punches Ezra after fighting him again and Cal's kicking the stormtrooper, it's something you don't see in Star Wars much, but I literally chuckled at each one. Nice change of pace. Yes, it is. Yes, it definitely is. Number 5 for Joe. Ezra sensing Kanan behind him and asking about the Force. Yeah, I like that part too. That's going to come up later in my list for sure. Brian's number 5. Kanan voting to go back for Ezra. He didn't say yes, but we knew it was tied, and it was up to Kanan if they went back. His first step to accepting Ezra. And I just had a hard time. You really think that they would have really left him if Kanan didn't vote that way? It's hard to imagine not voting that way, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Brian. That was cool. Amber says, Rivers, one is when the Stormtrooper asks, first Jedi you've ever seen, sir, and Callus kicks him off. So that one's going to show up a lot, I think, tonight, isn't it? Number 5 for Mason is when Ezra says from inside his cell, my uncle is the Emperor. I just heard a cat. You don't often hear a cat in my house, so who knows what's going on. So number 5 for Mason is when Ezra jokes that his uncle is the Emperor. Ben says, funny, Brian, I'll mention that one again later, but in a different way. Stay tuned. All right, Ben, that sounds like a promise. Looking forward to that. All right, let's go ahead and jump into number 4. Number 4 for me is Obi-Wan. So it's not live, it's a recording from the holocron. But Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up, voiced by James Arnold Taylor, the great James Arnold Taylor, and gives his famous speech that is said at the end of Revenge of the Sith that Mason almost has memorized because of the Star Wars book, he told me tonight, which is super cool. But it's just nice to see Obi-Wan like this and to have that connection to Revenge of the Sith. And of course, Obi-Wan will show up much more famously later in this series, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But this is a cool scene. Cool scene. For me, that's my number 4. Okay, number 4. For others here, Aminta's number 4 is the strategy game. Yes, say no more. I know exactly what you mean. Everybody else post your number 4s as well. By the way, did you notice anything different about me tonight? I seem to be missing something. Yeah, I just kind of want to ease you into that. I'm glad nobody noticed it, so that's good. Blake, I'm going to go with my buddy Mason and say the humor. Ezra trying to talk his way out of the cell was a hilarious moment. I agree with that. It was great. Number 4 for Amber. Relationship between Ezra and Zeb. Zeb punching Ezra in the face while in the Stormtrooper helmet. Try not to get dead. Don't want to carry your body up. At the end, Zeb punches Ezra in the shoulder in a clear attempt to express affection. Haha. Yes, that was pretty funny. 4 for Ben. Ezra runs after the young Wookiee and makes a leap over the Stormtrooper. It's cool to see Ezra discovering his ability and bravery all at the same time. And he probably just thought, I'm acrobatic, I'm athletic, I'm a street rat, I jump around a lot. But you can see those early signs of him being strong on the Force. Jason's number 4. Henrik, Ezra opening the Jedi holocron while locked up in the Imperial cell. And Jason's number 4, Sabine's love of colors, graffiti, and blowing stuff up. Yeah, when Kals discovers that spray paint is explosive, that was cool. And Henrik, that is a fun one. I know that Mason and I really like that one as well. Amber's daughter River says, also mentioned a scream sound effect as a stormtrooper fell over the edge. There you go. Yep, that's a very famous sound in the Lucasfilm archives, isn't it? Brian's over 4, Sabine using the explosive paint on the Star Destroyer, first for many of us to see her art in action. Yeah, she's so cool, isn't she? She's one of my favorites. Joe's number 4, Kallus being asked if Kanan was the first Jedi he had ever seen. Yeah, that's Kallus and Kanan, obviously very pivotal characters in this entire series, but that's a good part. Ben says, is it warm enough and no one had to shave yet? Well, 70 today, and I thought that was good enough. That's more of a teacher winter look, I think I said before, but yeah, it grows back pretty quick, so no worries. Let's see, anybody else with their number 4? I don't think I'm missing anybody, but feel free to weigh in the comments section if you can, or if you haven't yet. Number 4 for Mason, also involving the humor, but it's when he tells Kallus that his name is Jabba the Hutt. And then when Kallus says, well, Jabba, for some reason I was taking a drink, and I've seen this episode several times, but when Kallus said, well, Jabba, I looked over at Mason, and it just hit us, and I almost did a spit take of what I was drinking, like, ugh, because I thought it was hilarious, him calling Ezra Jabba. I got a kick out of that the first time I saw it, and I still get a kick out of it now. It's great. Really fun. All right, let's go ahead and jump into number 3. Number 3 for me is the test. So what do I mean by the test? Well, I'll show you this picture here, and I think this will flesh it out for you. So Kanan already let Ezra take the holocron, and then he knows that he takes the lightsaber, but he lets him run off. He does return the holocron before he runs off. But then Kanan pursues him, and he says, you know what, you can keep that lightsaber and let it get dusty here with all your trophies, or you can come with me and learn the ways of the Force. Obviously, we know what Ezra does, which is what we were hoping he would do, but I just like that he gives him choice. You know, the important things about love and a sincere relationship is actual choice, providing choice for people. And Kanan does that, and Ezra follows his heart and follows the call of the Force. And obviously we're going to have an amazing mentorship between these two. But I like that he gives him the choice to be able to make that for himself. That's why it's so powerful and sincere. Number 3 for Minta. Ezra unlocking a holocron and sees a recording of Obi-Wan. Very cool. Number 3 for Jason. For Henrik first. Ezra telling Agent Cal that his name is Jabba the Hutt. Yes, very good. That's what Mason loves too. Jason says, the holocron message from Obi-Wan Kenobi, a really nice connection to Revenge of the Sith. It establishes the mood of the galaxy at the time. Yes, indeed it does. Yes, indeed it does. Ben's 3. Chopper votes for Hera. See, Brian. I specifically like when the droid shows that they have a strong moral compass, but I wonder if Chopper later regrets that choice, right? Interesting. Good point on the moral compass. Number 3 for Joe. Ezra dropping down from the vent and being hit by Zeb. I like that part too. Amber 3. Ezra going off to help the Wookiee kid on his own. Character development. That's right. Exactly. Number 3 for Blake. The Wookiees being freed. How could you not love seeing the Wookiee families embrace? And it gave me a fond flashbacks to the holiday special and Chewie's family, which I think we need a top 5 of. Well, Blake. Interesting. You're the first person to say that. Maybe we'll do that around the Christmas time. Maybe. Ben, sorry, Chopper votes with her. No worries. I knew what you meant, buddy. Thank you. I should have corrected when I said it when I was reading it. Josh, Ezra starting his hero's journey by going to save the young Wookiee. And yeah, even before that, like when he refuses the call and doesn't want to go help. But then ultimately he does. He says, this is why I can't believe I'm doing this. And he runs off. It's pretty neat. Let's see. Number 3 for Mason is Ezra's slingshot. That's a cool thing that kind of over time goes away, but Mason loves that. And Ezra's a pretty good shot with it too. There's some fun things that happen with that one. Number 3 for Brian. Ezra throwing the holocron, then realizes he can't open it physically. He pauses and concentrates to open it. Yes, Brian, thank you for pointing that out. That is a very cool scene. A very cool scene indeed. All right, let's see what is next. Anybody else have a number 3? I want to make sure I got everybody. It looks like I did. But again, if not, wait. And by the way, those of you listening later to the show, whether it's on our podcast feed or watching it on Instagram or YouTube, if you want to add a top 5, I'll post a place in the CWK Cafe where you can add your top 5. So you can be a part of this conversation too. You don't have to join us live to share your top 5 from this episode. We want you all to weigh in on your favorite moments from this whole series as we go back, which is cool. Ben, for the holiday special, is a top 5 in reverse order, meaning top cringeworthy, top worst moments, etc. Ooh, now see, Ben, now you're onto something. Hey, Jamie's here. What's up, Jamie? He says, my number 3 is the use of secrets to reveal both the escape plan and that Kanan is a Jedi. Yes. Jamie, no problem, man. Good to have you here. And yeah, that is a great one. That's definitely going to come up later in my list. But speaking of my list, let's go ahead and jump into number 2. Number 2 for me is Ezra's humor. We've alluded to it several times. Mason and Blake have both brought it up. Several of you have brought it up. But just Ezra's deadpan, and the fact that he's having fun when he's in the heat of these challenging moments, I think is pretty hilarious. And it kind of alleviates the tension and makes you not as worried, which I think is actually effective here because we're trying to get used to these characters. We want to get to know them. And Ezra's charm and his sense of humor, especially in this first season, is a very, very important aspect. But he has some great jokes, some great one-liners. And that is why it is my number 2. Let's see what the rest of you have for your number 2s. Number 2 for Brian, the reveal of the Grand Inquisitor. Yes, this was the original time when this first aired live that we met the Grand Inquisitor. But then they went back and edited into one big episode. And that's when I put the Darth Vader sequence in at the beginning. But yeah, that's a good one, Brian. Josh, overall tone invoking A New Hope and the themes later seen in Rogue One. Yes, very good. In fact, Mason talked about how this reminded him of Rogue One, which I thought was pretty poignant. Number 2 for Minta, the Wookiee rescue. Things were shaky at first, but between Kanan using his lightsaber and Ezra helping the Wookiee youngling, everything came full circle. Yes, it certainly did, didn't it? Amber, Rivers number 2. Ezra tricks the stormtroopers and escapes the cell. Bye, guys. And the stormtroopers trying to explain that Ezra escaped, but don't quite say what happened. No, they don't. But that's a good one. That's a good one, River. I like that one a lot. Blake's next one is Kanan revealing he's a Jedi. Pretty awesome moment. It's a spectacular moment. I love it. Jason, Henrik's number 2, the anti-gravity scene in the Imperial ship. Very cool. One of my favorites. And Jason's number 2, Ezra continuing to take steps into a larger world by going against his instincts and choosing to warn the Ghost Crew about the trap the Empire had set for them. Yeah, I like that. It's very important. I think someone mentioned that earlier. That's a really important moment. Amber's number 2, Keenan saying, "Kid, I'm about to let everyone in on the secret." Chills. Very much so. Ben's number 2, Obi-Wan's speech. It grounds the entire episode and connects it back to the major story. The speech is obviously great, invoking that a new hope will emerge in time. Yes, it will. Yes, it certainly will. Joe's second one is number 2 is Hezra saying Zeb's full name. Yeah, when he's in trouble, she uses his full name. I thought that was funny and important. He should have felt bad about it. Jamie's number 2, saving the Wookiees, especially how he fits right into the group. Wink and a nod before he goes off to execute as part of the plan. Yeah, I like that too. I really like the Wookiees here too. I didn't get more Wookiees in this series because I think it's pretty neat. Mason's number 2 is Ezra as an apprentice to Kanan when we realize that Kanan will actually teach Ezra the ways of the Force, and Ezra is going to be the apprentice of Kanan Jarrus. That is Mason's number 2, and it's a great moment that I talk about in my number 3. But now we're going to go into our number 1s. My top moment from Spark of Rebellion Part 1 is The Secret. There can only be one, and for me, it was an easy one. Mason and I knew right away what our number 1 was going to be, even before we rewatched this. When he says, "Kid, I'm about to let everyone in on a secret," we use that for a transitional piece for Coffee with Kenobi for a long time, and sometimes I use it for different things too. But I actually got real chills and goosebumps when this happened and when I watched tonight. And again, I've watched this one a couple times, but it's been a while. And I even knew what was going to happen, of course. We all did. But seeing it again and just knowing where Kanan's legacy is was just spectacular. It's just a great, important moment in the history of Star Wars and in the mythology of this incredible saga. I love it so much. It'd probably be in my top 5 of the entire series. So, yeah, and in fact, it was one of my top lightsaber moments too. So it was just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The Master and the Apprentice, once Ezra passes Kanan's test, it was clear that he would have unofficially taken him on as his Padawan and show him the ways of the Force, as well as have a family again. Yeah, and that's going to come, of course, much later, but at least it opens the door to that possibility, doesn't it? Number 1 for Josh, Kanan's face-off with the Imperials. So good. Joe's number 122 pickup. Exactly. Jason's number 1, Henrik, Kanan opening the holocron at the end of the episode and hearing Obi-Wan's message while we see each member of the Ghost Crew. Yeah, I think that it's cool they all got a moment of FaceTime for that part. Jason's number 1, Kid, I'm about to let everyone in on a secret. One of the coolest and best Jedi moments ever. I love it too. I definitely love it too. Amber, Kanan's offered Ezra Obi-Wan's message in the holocron is mention of a new hope, which we know exactly what that means, don't we? Jamie's number 1, unlocking the holocron, Obi-Wan's message, a new hope will emerge. So cool. Brian's number 1, like mine, Kanan's reveal, Ezra and the Wookiees all look stunned. Kanan stands on the crates and it seems like a destiny moment for him. It certainly is. Talk about accepting the call. Ben's number 1, Kanan ignites his lightsaber, which is obviously really cool, but more important, think about how that must have impacted Ezra in the moment. I believe that's what Ezra felt like he wanted to follow him. It's an important character moment for Ezra as much as for Kanan. That's true. That's very true. Blake is number 1. Ezra opening the holocron to see Obi-Wan's message. Great way of seeing his potential as a Force user and giving us a classic character at the same time. Yep, I love that. I love that so much. I mean, a lot of lore in this with the Force itself through this one. Mason's number 1, same as mine, same as many of yours, and he writes simply, Kanan. Kanan's big moment at the end. Super spectacular, something that Star Wars Rebels fans and lovers of the saga will point to as a great significant moment in the timeline for sure. All right, everybody. Well, this was great. Let's look at next week's top 5. We're going to look at the 3rd episode in season 1. Top 5 moments from Star Wars Rebels, Droids in Distress, featuring a couple of very important, significant characters from the world of Star Wars. That is going to be next week. But now we're going to jump into something we do once a month, and that is Star Wars trivia. Now, you know the rules for Star Wars trivia. If not, well, I'll break it down for you right now. It's real simple. Do your best. Just try. That's all we ask you to do is just try your best. That's right. As you're trying, please don't look anything up. Just do your best. If you don't get it, that's okay. Jamie says, if we had a worse 5 list, I think we need to give a shout out to that poor stream trooper who made the mistake of asking, is that the first Jedi you've ever seen? Yeah, that part I know it's played for laughs, but just really disturbing too. So, yeah, that was definitely not a good, it was an authentic one. He's trying to bond, but that seems like the worst place to try to bond when you're hanging from the top of this platform. Anthony's loves next week's episode of Rebels. Cool. All right. Brian is ready. Good deal. All right, everybody. Trivia time. Doesn't matter who gets it first or whatever. Just answer. Don't look it up, and we'll see how you do. Okay. How old is Ezra Bridger at the beginning of Star Wars Rebels? I know it's a tough one. But how old is Ezra Bridger at the beginning of this? Ben says, what should that say about me for laughing? Should I get help? Well, if you do, then I will have to as well, because I giggled too. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. What is that funny for? So yeah, don't worry, Ben. You're in good company. So when I ask how old is Ezra, Josh says he's 15. Anthony says Ezra is 15. Anybody else want to weigh in on this? Jason says that he's 15. Ben says he's 14. Minta says 14. I would have had to look this one up because I'd forgotten. But there is a clue, actually. Jamie says 14. So we've got guesses for 14, and we've got guesses for 15. Brian says 15, and Blake was going to guess 15 as well. Mason says 14, 15, or 16. Well, I can tell you it's one of those. I can tell you that it's one of those. We've seen guesses for 14, one for 15, one for 16. Amber says 132. That might be a little old. Josh is the same age as Luke and Leia. Amber says 12. Okay. So we've got guesses for 12, 13. No, we don't. Yeah, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. He is actually the exact age as is the amount of time between Revenge of the Sith and Star Wars Rebels. So he was born on Empire Day when the rebellion... when the Empire is born and the Emperor creates his first galactic empire. So that it was 14 years ago. Ezra is 14 years old. So if you guess 14, you are correct. There's the first one. Ben says Mason has the right idea. Mason put through a couple of darts there on the dartboard, didn't he? All right, so let's go to your next one. What is the name of the child Wookiee in this episode? I won't make you do spelling. I won't, since it's spring break for me, we won't do spelling. Ben, don't encourage Mason. Just kidding. Yes. So what is the name of the youth Wookiee, the child Wookiee in this episode that Ezra goes and bravely saves at the end of the episode? What is the name of this Wookiee? I remembered it because of Topps had a really cool Star Wars Rebels trading card set. Jason answers and says it's Kitwar. Okay. Mason's first guess was 14. I believe you, buddy. I believe you. We'll give you credit for that one. So Jason says the name of the Wookiee is Kitwar. Ben says, thanks, Jason. I'll say Kitwar. Amita says the same thing. Anybody else want to guess on the name of the Wookiee? Is it a youthful Chewbacca? Of course not. Oh, look at Brian. Kitwar. Nice job, Brian. Mason says Kitwar. Blake says Lumpy. That always crosses my mind as well. The answer is Kitwar. Kitwarr. Kitwar is the name of the Wookiee. So nice job, everybody. Let's see how you do on this one. What's the name of Kitwar's father? What is the name of the adult Wookiee that is Kitwar's father in this episode? That one might be a little more challenging. What is the name of the male Wookiee father, the father of Kitwar in this episode? Ben says, I'm imagining Brian making the Wookiee sound when he says Kitwar. Oh, definitely. I definitely imagine that too. Oh, no, it's not letting me pull up the comments here. Let me try that again. There we go. And Mason says, really, Blake? Yeah, Lumpy is actually the name of Chewbacca's son. Mason, you probably didn't know that, but yeah, for sure. Jason says, Knitwear Senior or Kitwar? Jake says, Kitwar Senior. No, I never would have guessed this one if not for that trading card set either. Plus, I looked up some things in a book, Star Wars visual guide from season 1. Let's see. So we've got a couple guesses. I will give you a hint. It starts with a W. Does that help? Probably doesn't help very much. And it's not anything related to Kitwar. I can just tell you the name if you're not sure. Brian says it starts with a W, but can't remember. And yes, but I speak everything in Sri Wokenholm. At a boy. Ben says, question for Ask Dan Z. When will you show Mason a holiday special? Oh gosh. Maybe around Christmas time if I remember. Maybe. Ben, you have to remind me. Jason says it's supposed to be Kitwar Senior. Of course. Amber River says it's Wally. Mason says Kitwar's father, whatever the answer is. So the answer is Wulfwarro, Wullffwarro. In Wookiee talk, they like to use consonants 2 and 3 letters at a time. But it's Wulfwarro, Wullffwarro. Wulfwarro. That is the name of Kitwar's father. Is it okay if you forgot? Of course it is. Of course it is. Oh, Rawtik, Kitwar backwards. I like that. That's kind of like the name of the wizard in Fantasia is Yensid, which is Disney backwards. Cool. Or like the Mirror of Erised in the first Harry Potter is Desire backwards. All right. So somebody in here gave this answer earlier, so we'll see if you were paying attention when everybody's giving their top 5s. But what is the code that Kanan, when Kanan alerts Hera that he's about to let everybody in on the secret, what is the name of the code word that he uses? And Hera says, really? And I think Kanan says something along the lines of, well, now is as good a time as any, or something like that. I didn't write it down, but what is the code word or the code name that when Kanan says this to Hera, she knows he's going to reveal that he is actually a Jedi Knight? So what is the code that Kanan shares with Hera that tells her Kanan's about to let everybody know that he is a Jedi? Amber says, pick up 22. Jamie says, has a 22 in it. Ben says, something 22. Jason says, 22 pickup. Minta says, 22, or pick up 22. Anthony says, pick up 22. So we've got 22 pickup. We've got pickup 22. We've got Rawtik. Oh, that's the older one. Ben says 22 pickup. I wonder what would be symbolic about the two. So basically, it seemed that we need to decide is it 22 pickup or pickup 22? Or is it something else? Trust in the Force, everybody. I think you'll get the right answer. Mason says, blah, blah, 22, blah, blah. I am correct. Is that a Jedi mind trick, Mason? That might not work on me, pal. The answer is 22 pickup. That is the answer. I wrote it down as soon as I heard it. It's good stuff. All right, let's see. We've got 1, 2. Okay. Oh, Mason says the Elder Wand. I was waiting for that to happen. I was waiting for that. All right. So another one. This is another thing where you have to guess a length of time. This is a challenging one. So for how many years? For how many years does Kanan hide from the galaxy that he is actually a Jedi Knight? Or a Jedi in training. He was a Padawan at the time. But for how many years does Kanan hide from the galaxy that he is in possession of a lightsaber and that he is a Jedi or will be a Jedi? How long? Anybody know? How many years did Kanan hide his secret? That's probably a better way to ask that. How many years did Kanan Jarrus hide his secret? So Blake says 14 years. Okay, good guess. Ben says, I feel like that's wrong. Don't follow me. But Minta says the same thing, 14 years. Amber says at least 15. Okay. Brian says 14 years. Amber says, or 22, LOL. Oh, actually, that would be cool. It's not 22, but that is a good guess. Amber, I like how you were thinking there. Jason says 14. Okay. Any other guesses? Mason, what do you think, buddy? How long did Kanan hide his secret? Mason's let everyone know that he finished Harry Potter, which we did talk about at the beginning of the show. And he says 14 or 15 years. I think everybody who is on the show live right now has guessed, if I'm correct. So the answer is, in the official Rebels guide, it says almost 15 years. So it would be 14 years. So if you said 14 or 15, I'll allow it because it says for almost 15 years. So I don't know when the anniversary is of him hiding that lightsaber, but yes, that is in fact almost 15 years that Kanan hid that secret. That's why it's such a big deal. And by the way, if you want to read or find out about how Kanan and Hera meet and how they form their bond with one another, that is in John Jackson Miller's novel A New Dawn, which I haven't read since it first came out. Gosh, in what, 2015, 14? It's been a long time. So A New Dawn is a great book to pick up to see that part. And not that part, but to see what Kanan Jarrus was like before he became a Jedi Knight. All right, let's see. I've got about 3 more. I'll try to fly through these. What is the official droid designation of Chopper? For example, R2 is R2D2, right? But what is Chopper's official droid designation? What is the astromech Chopper, the small, beloved orange little droid? What is his actual droid number or designation? Anybody know? They don't say it too much, but they do say it. Brian, right out of the gate, C110P. Okay, thank you, Brian. Anybody else want to guess? Anybody else have any guesses? Anthony has the same one, C110P. Anybody else have any guesses on this one? Jason, the same thing, C101P is what Jason says, unless that's a typo, Jason, but Jason has C101P. Anybody else? Minta says C110P. Ben says he's too sentient to have a code. He's just Chopper. You know, that's how I refer to him, as Chopper, but he does have an actual designation. If you have the action figure, it shows it on there too. By the way, Disney theme parks had a great action figure version of Chopper, like really cool. Anybody else? Mason says I spam random numbers. I might be close. Or maybe that is a secret password to Mason. Could be. Ooh. No, the answer Brian had to right off the gate is C110P. That's right. All right, so these next 2 are really, really difficult. I'll ask them. Don't feel bad if you don't know them yet. It's early in the series. But Lothal is, of course, the planet that Ezra Bridger is from. That's where the beginning of this series takes place. What is the main industry that Lothal is known for? There is one thing that they are very, very known for on Lothal, is the primary reason that the Empire wants to invade Lothal and take it over. What is it that Lothal has that is their primary industry on their actual planet itself? What is the main industry that they use? Anthony's guess is mining. Okay, Anthony, good guess. Anybody else have any guesses? What is the main industry that Lothal is known for, and to me is one of the reasons why the Empire seeks to take over Lothal, because they want this particular commodity. So what is the main industry on Lothal that they use? Anthony's guess is mining. Anybody else have any guesses? I'll let you weigh in. Amber says produce. Mason has a lot of questions, which I don't blame you, buddy. Ben says it's mining a specific energy. Mita says farming. Jason says textiles. All good guesses. The answer is actually agriculture. So farming. Right, their natural land is a wonderful natural resource. It can feed a lot of people, take care of a lot of livestock. So the Empire, of course, wants it, and they, like locusts, they will try to sort of suck it dry and take everything that they need. And my guess is they would want to leave the planet a burning husk, which, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But that is one reason why the Empire wants it. All right. Okay. One more question. Mason says close enough. There you go. I like the humor, Mason. You and Ezra have a lot in common, along with our other friends here on CWK Live. Jason says, nice one, Minta. Yeah, Minta is on fire. Good job, Minta. The force is strong with you, my friend. All right, let's go to the last one. Who's the governor of Lothal? You will meet this individual in the next episode, Droids in Distress. But who is the governor of Lothal? Kind of a trivia question for next week, to be honest. But now when you watch next week's episode, it'll make sense. You'll say, oh yeah, we talked about that on CWK Live, which we have and are. So who is the governor of Lothal? Josh says Price. That is the name that Josh has guessed. Anybody else? Anybody else have any guesses on what the name of the governor of Lothal is? Jason says Governor Price as well. I don't think they mentioned Governor Price in the first episode, but they might. Now that you say, I don't know. I can't remember. Minta says Governor Price. Ben says Price. Anybody else have any guesses? Anybody else have any guesses on who the governor of Lothal is at the beginning of this series? Well, while you're guessing, Anthony says Price, and Josh says they would spell the Y. Yes, they do spell the Y. Brian says the same thing. The answer is Ariinda Price. Arihinda. Ariinda Price. Yeah, Governor Price. Mason says refer to the Minister of Magic, and the answer is Voldemort. Ooh, that would be quite a twist, wouldn't it? And Ben with a clever pun, the Price is right. Well done, Ben. In fact, that deserves some applause. Yeah, good job. All right, so that was it for trivia tonight. Nice job, everybody. That was a tricky one. I just wrote down the answers, and I just kind of wrote the questions after the fact because I knew we would sort of evolve them together. So nice job. And if you like this, we can certainly do general Star Wars trivia, but I think it's kind of fun to keep it on task with the shows that we're watching themselves. It's fun to keep up your knowledge, and you can just keep the wheels spinning. Brian says 3 bonus points for Ben for that last one. Yeah, that was very good. Very good, Ben. Very clever. And Mason is clapping too. Oh, I thought I had a sound effect of laughter. I'll have to download that. All right. Well, while I'm figuring the mysteries of the live stream world out, let's go ahead and jump into Ask DNZ. All right, so this is your chance to ask me anything about Star Wars, about Celebration, about what's going on with Coffee with Kenobi. Anything I can answer, I will certainly do my best to do so. Ben says his clever little quip was making up for the points you missed. This was a tricky one tonight, Ben. There were some difficult ones. I'm pretty sure I would have been scratching my head on quite a few of these as well. All right, Brian says I would ask Mason who would win Voldemort versus Vader. Oh, Mason, who would win Voldemort versus Vader? I'm sure I know what Mason's going to say, but good question. Matthew, hi everyone. Sorry I'm late, just got the voice of bed. No worries, man. Good to have you on the show. We saved a spot for you, of course. Thanks, buddy. Is it your spring break as well? It says happy spring break. Yeah, I've got spring break this week, which is nice. Be able to catch up on some time at home, which will be really, really nice, and do some other fun stuff too that we've got planned as a family. So Mason, what do you say, buddy? Brian wants to know who would win, Voldemort or Vader. Personally, I think it would be Vader, but it's a good question. Henrik wants to know what the price of the Grogu watch is. That's a good question, Henrik, and I'm not sure. I know it's on Amazon. Mason, do you remember? I think we looked it up. Gab was nice enough to send that to us. to help them promote it, but I'm not sure how much it costs. But my guess is, oh gosh, 50 or 60. But I don't know. I it's a total guess. Mason, if you know, let me know. But I know it's on their website. Jason, I know it's on Amazon as well. Do I need a lanyard celebration? I was having this discussion with my wife. So that's a great question, Anthony. They give you a lanyard when you get your badge. So I think they're mailing out badges. You can also pick them up there if you don't get them mailed out in time. But yes, they do give you a lanyard, or you can also buy one of the newer ones, or not the newer ones, one of the ones that has the show logo on it. But they definitely provide lanyards for you. I've got a wall of Star Wars Celebration badges with lanyards on them. Do we even know when the next celebration is yet? Do we know where? So all we know now is that the one it's in May is Celebration Anaheim. That's coming at the last week of May. Was it 27th to 30th? Is that right? I just know it's Thursday to Sunday, the last Thursday to Sunday of May. But as far as after that, I do not know. If I could recommend one Legends novel for someone who hasn't read any, what would you say and why? I would say Kenobi by John Jackson Miller. It is Legends. Actually, Kenobi or Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis by James Luceno. Honestly, that's probably where I would go. It shows the kind of the origins of the Emperor, and it's not officially canon. Well, it was never canon, but it's just a great, very compelling story, showing how the Emperor slowly evolves into who he is and his first experiences with the dark side. It's a very powerful book. In fact, it'd be worth reading again. Matthew wants to know what your favorite book is so far. It's a good question. Josh says they have not announced the next one. No, they won't. They either announce it the last day of Celebration, the one that's going on, or they just do it later. There's not necessarily a set in stone pattern, but historically they used to do it at the very end, at the closing ceremonies they used to do it, which is kind of fun. Josh says it'll be interesting to see if Star Wars Celebration moves to annual or biannual. In fact, they had one in 2019 and plan one for 22 was a good hint they were going to make a change. Well, it was going to be in 21, as you remember, but because of COVID, they had to reschedule 21 for 22. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see kind of how that works. And of course, you've got to get the space ready and, where's the next one going to be? All that good stuff. All good questions. I tell you what, though, speaking of Celebration, I'm so excited for this one. So excited. I can't wait to see everybody. Can't wait to be around Star Wars, our Star Wars friends. We got a taste of that on the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser a couple of weeks ago, and that was great fun. But you were missing. So you are who I'm looking forward to seeing and hanging out with. Everybody watching this, everybody listening. It's going to be a ton of fun. Josh, no worries, man. I knew what you meant. No worries at all. Whoops, what's going on here? Let me fix that. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Well, that is going to do it for this week's show. Let me cue the music here. There we go. Can't wait to see everybody's pictures and reports from Celebration. It's going to be fun. Matthew, we're definitely going to be bringing you all the coverage from Star Wars Celebration. There's so many fun things that are going to be happening at Star Wars Celebration. I'll be bringing you things from Twitter and Instagram, and there'll be videos and stories on Instagram and all kinds of fun stuff. So speaking of Celebration, you see that a Will Rowe Hood card has been added to the Topps Cards app. No, I didn't see that, Ben. I'll have to check that out. That's cool. Brian, thank you, man. It's a great way to start the week because of people like you joining us. Your profile picture always makes me so happy. That's so cool. Appreciate you. Minta, appreciate you as well. May the Force be with you. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Hopefully, wherever you live, the weather's really, really nice, too. Matthew, hope you have a magical week. And if you're not able to join us at Star Wars Celebration, be thinking about saving your money and joining us in the summer of 2023 on the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser at Walt Disney World. Once we have dates, we'll certainly be posting them and letting you know. But be on the lookout for that. Jason, have a great week. Amber, we'll see you next week. Blake, good night, man. Be careful out there on your job. I hope everybody's doing well, being safe, and keeping strong in the Force and being positive, because that's how we're going to be able to continue to enjoy the Star Wars community together and get ready for Celebration, all the other fun things happening out there in the world, because we are positive and we are united and celebrating this love of the saga. And I'm so grateful that you spend every Monday night with me doing that. Speaking of spending time with me, if you are a member of the CWK Alliance, then you know this week we did top 5 Batman villains. Kind of fun to talk about something not Star Wars related sometimes, and we talked about top 5 Batman villains, and we were pretty specific about which versions of which villains as well. And this week on Coffee with Kenobi, I was joined by Becky Mankin and Lou Mangello of WDW Radio as we shared our top 5 Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser tips. Those are both pictures from the media opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge back in 2019. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for me. Be well, stay safe, and remember, this is the live podcast you're looking for. See you next time.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along. Move along.